Well, good morning. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here today. My name is Dan Mahoney. I'm president of the Southern Illinois University System. And today I'm pleased to introduce Chancellor Randy Pembrook, the 9th Chancellor of Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, who will give the 6th State of the University address. Chancellor Pembrook, as you probably know, is a 3-time alumnus of this institution, having received his Bachelor's of Music Education from SIU in 1978, his Bachelor's of Music Performance in 1979, and a Master's in Music Education in 1980. He earned a PhD in Music Education from Florida State University in 1984. He's held numerous higher education leadership roles during his career, including serving as Chair of Music Education and Music Therapy, Associate Dean and Dean of the Conservatory of Music at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, Provost at Baker University in Baldwin, Kansas, and Vice President for Academic Affairs at Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas, before he returned to SIUE in 2016. As you probably also know, Dr. Pembrook announced his retirement earlier this year, so this will be his last State of the University address. So I want to take this moment to thank him for his service to SIUE and the SIU system. He has made a huge impact on this institution as a student, as an alum, and now as Chancellor. So without further ado, let me welcome Chancellor Pembrook.
Well, thank you, President Mahoney. I appreciate that very gracious introduction. Thank you for being here today. I know your schedule is very busy. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for my 6th State of the University address. We have people attending in the Conference Center of the Morris University Center, as well as joining virtually through Zoom. And I want to say that I appreciate your actual and your virtual presence. I also want to say thank you to Letty, to Mark in Muck Technical Services. I want to thank our IT support, particularly TPI here today, for helping me with this presentation. I want to begin by sharing a photo from the time period when I attended SIUE as a student. Yeah, I will try to ignore the muffled laughter in the room and the vibe I'm getting via Zoom. Yes, I am or was a child of the 70s, and hair was a big deal, and I underscore big in that decade. I'd like to begin my remarks with a quote by a musician from that era, David Bowie. The lyrics embody the topic for today's remarks, as well as a frequent theme from the last 18 months, changes. I don't know how many of you remember the song from David Bowie. It occurs to me that many of you may not have been born when it was a top 10 hit. But the song is appropriately titled Changes, or as David Bowie sang it, Changes.
Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. It's gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time.
The lyric that you heard, and what I want to emphasize this morning, is this: turn and face the strange changes. Time may change me, but I can't trace, perhaps change, time. So we have all dealt with many strange changes in the last year and a half. Many times we probably felt very much that we wanted to change our circumstances, the times, but we couldn't. And so we went on. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you and commend all of you for your constant flexibility and willingness to persist in spite of the strange changes going on around us. A second quote about change that I would like to share, one that seems slightly more reflective, comes from a period about 2,500 years before David Bowie and was offered by a Greek philosopher named Heraclitus. There is nothing permanent except change. He suggested that a change in one direction is ultimately balanced by a corresponding change in another. Let's hope that is true relating to the pandemic and that we are headed toward less frustrating circumstances sometime soon, hopefully in 2022. Let me share a third quotation, one offering a challenge and a sense of hope, or maybe better said, hope and change. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. This underscores our individual roles in creating change. I'm guessing you noticed that the photo of President Obama is actually of Senator Obama when he gave an important address on our campus in March of 2005, in this very building, in fact. In this past year, change has certainly been a factor in all our lives. I am proud of this institution and how we have faced change in the spring 2020 semester, the fall 2020 semester, the spring and summer terms of 2021, and now this semester. As David Bowie would say, changes relating to commencements. I'll remind you, we were indoors in small groups. We were outdoors in large groups. We were indoors in large groups. We even invited our golden grads, most of whom are in their 70s and 80s, to be a part of virtual ceremonies. And the good news is they loved it. Everyone wore and continues to wear a mask, including our students and our mascot and me today. Thank you for adhering to this safety measure. The masks aren't comfortable, but they have helped us create one of the safest higher education environments in the state with some of the lowest positivity rates. We changed our traditions to include a welcome parade on the first SIUE Experience weekend. A new tradition we repeated this fall, 2021. I led the parade again, but this time I had a police escort that indicated where we were actually supposed to be going. Versus last year, when some of you may remember I was unexpectedly designated to lead the parade and somewhat randomly drove through Cougar Village hoping to avoid dead-end streets. We changed some of our facilities in the past year. For example, the Dental School Advanced Care Clinic to provide better and expanded care for our communities. The ribbon cutting was a wonderful celebration attended by many local legislators who continue to support SIUE in so many ways. In 2020-2021, we changed our leadership team. Thank you to departing Chancellor's Council members, including Kim Durr, Doug McAlega, and Rich Walker, who served long and well. And thank you to our new Vice Chancellors, Jessica Harris and Morris Taylor, and the newest member of Chancellor's Council, Interim Executive Director Heather Kniffel from Marketing and Communications, for providing excellent leadership. Heather's first Chancellor's Council meeting will actually be tomorrow. Thank you also to those on Extended Chancellor's Council for your efforts and contributions. Continuing the theme of changes, let's start by talking about how we have dealt with COVID. You can literally see that the changes in positivity rates over time in this slide, particularly at the beginning of each semester. While our positive surveillance numbers have increased predictably at the beginning of each semester, fall 20, winter 21, and fall 21, our overall positivity average has remained at around 1% to 2% throughout almost all of the last 18 months, well below Madison County, the Metro East, and the St. Louis Metropolitan Statistical Area. If you are wondering about the spike in early November 2020, I have two words to offer as an explanation. Halloween parties. With Halloween about 3 to 4 weeks away, I am reminded of a line from an old TV show, Hill Street Blues. Hey, let's be careful out there. We are grateful to Mike Schultz and Rhianne Greenwald, as well as the entire COVID core team for their efforts involving testing, vaccinations, and overall safety protocols. By the way, don't forget to schedule your flu shot, continue to wash your hands, and keep your distance. I'm imagining Rhianne is nodding and smiling at that comment. I also want to thank Student Affairs and Kara Shustrin and Miriam Racha in particular, and SIUE HR for their role in encouraging compliance with the governor's recent executive order, again, to enhance a safe environment. Let's continue the conversation about changes at SIUE by discussing how we have dealt with equity, diversity, and inclusion challenges. I'd like to remind listeners today about how you can access the Anti-Racism Task Force dashboard. You see the dashboard link at the bottom of this screen. Please take a look at the ARTF dashboard for the complete list of recommendations and progress, but I would like to mention a few examples in each category. Under the category Completed Done, we have identified a communications specialist for East St. Louis. Thank you to Pat Merritt in advance for serving in that capacity. We also have completed the first anti-racism newsletter. Under Completed Ongoing, SIUE is now employing test-blind admission processes. And diversity sessions have become a part of events such as Springboard. Recommendations reflecting significant progress would include the Impact Academy, which has been moved to the hub to develop mandatory diversity training modules. SIUE has also become a member of the National Sustained Dialogue Institute to aid our sustained dialogue communication efforts. Relating to items which are in progress, we are offering additional scholarship support to meet students' needs and a common reading program targeted for summer-fall 2022 has been developed. Finally, as to pending items, we are waiting on potential ridership data from the East St. Louis campus to provide Madison County Transit in order to assess the need for a shuttle. Likewise, we are waiting on information from a potential corporate partner pertaining to a possible diversity speaker series. We have work to do, but as you know, many of the in-progress items are continuing to evolve through our HLC Quality Initiative. I have no doubt that Vice Chancellor Harris and Associate Provost Elza Ibrosheva will lead our QI project to a successful implementation and conclusion over the next 3 years. So how do things look regarding enrollment changes at the beginning of the fall 2021 semester? I want to share some encouraging information which I presented at the Board of Trustees meeting 3 weeks ago. As you can see, our enrollment is 13,010 students, up 150 or between 1 and 2% compared to a year ago. SIUE is one of 3 Illinois public higher education institutions which are up in enrollment this fall. Additional good news is that our incoming class includes 1,992 first-year students, and almost 60% of those students are living on campus. That is important to our campus life environment. Also, this is the most diverse class ever to enter SIUE, with tremendous growth in historically underserved student populations. As we look at the next slide, you can see that international enrollment is up as well, our highest total in SIUE history. Well, to be totally transparent, it actually ties our highest international enrollment ever at 536 students. Congratulations to Executive Director Mary Weisler, Jim Monahan, and the International Affairs Office. Graduate enrollment is also strong, with over 3,000 students, the highest in 44 years. Congratulations to Dean Weinberg and his staff. High school GPA is an important barometer in this test-optional era. The GPA of our entering class has remained remarkably stable, 3.50, 3.54, 3.57, and 3.53 in the last 4 years. Access to higher education has increased, partly because of new scholarship programs. For example, the SIUE commitment, which you may recall is new for the fall 21 semester. It provides free tuition and fees for those from households with income of less than $63,575. I hope you will reach out to Scott Bellabradic and his enrollment management team and let them know how much we appreciate their efforts. Recruiting in the midst of a pandemic has been and continues to be a unique challenge, but they are certainly meeting that challenge. Another change that was discussed and approved at the September BOT meeting was a salary increase for non-represented employees. At the September board meeting, the BOT approved our recommendation for the 2% non-rep salary increase retroactive to July 1st, 2021 for those who were working here on June 30 through the present. Thank you, President Mahoney, for your support of that initiative. Regarding today's theme, changes, it is hoped that consistency rather than annual change can be achieved relating to several areas in the years to come, including salary adjustments, increases in state support, and tuition and fee adjustments to help us achieve the improvements we all want to see at SIUE. Partly due to today's theme of change, I asked several individuals on Chancellor's Council and Extended Chancellor's Council to think about change within SIUE's history, including what they would consider to be an important event from our first 5 decades, roughly through 2010. I also asked them to send me a description of something from the last decade which has significantly impacted SIUE, and finally, changes that we might expect to see in the next 5 years. I hope that as I go through these, you will be reminded of our comparatively recent origins as a university and reflect on how far we have advanced in the first 60 years of our existence. It is easy to forget that we sometimes compare ourselves to public institutions that are more than 200 years old. Then think about more recent successes of the last decade as you view these slides and how those changes have us on a good path. Finally, consider some amazing initiatives starting to unfold which will help us realize important parts of our vision in the next few years. So let me share a few of those responses from Chancellor's Council and Extended Chancellor's Council members. I'm presenting them in alphabetical order so as not to imply any preference. By the way, I think the contributing individuals would want me to share that this was a very difficult task. There are so many things that could have been mentioned. Picking only one in each category was difficult. Let me begin with academics, and I'll look back and forward with ideas from Provost Cobb. SIUE's academic history is tied to hands-on learning experiences. Whether we are talking about undergrad research academy or the senior assignment or high-impact practices, we have been an institution that involves students in learning. Fast forward. In 2019, Carnegie placed us in the doctoral professional category, changing our status from Master's Large to acknowledge the high level of training taking place in areas such as dentistry, education, nursing, and pharmacy. This is a very significant step. Finally, as Provost Cobb looks ahead, we imagine change. For example, expansion of the Successful Communities Collaborative and the continuing impact that program will have on our surrounding communities. A recommitment to high-impact practices that are a hallmark of SIUE. The photo shows an example of one of the Successful Community Collaborative projects, a proposed bike path in downtown Alton. Our Director of Athletics, Tim Hall, shared the following. And to be honest, I'm not sure that a majority of our campus knows this, but between 1972 and 2007, SIUE student athletes won 17 national titles in soccer, men's tennis, women's tennis, wrestling, and softball, including a national title every year in the 1980s. Again, fast forward. In 2016, SIUE student athletes achieved the highest graduation success rate, or GSR, in the state of Illinois and were in the top 10 in the entire country. On the horizon, our vision for change in the future includes improvements in our facilities, including the Cordy Stadium Complex, tennis, wrestling, and indoor court sports such as basketball and volleyball, so that we are prepared to compete at the highest levels in the OVC, MVC, and MAC. Some of these changes are already happening. As many of you know, community engagement is one of my passions, and so I reached out to Mary Etling and Connie Fry-Spurlock regarding their perspectives. Regarding community engagement history, one of our longest-running community outreach programs is Head Start, which began in East St. Louis in the 1960s. We took over for St. Clair County in the 1980s with an initial grant of $1.3 million. This program continues to this day with over $12 million in grants this year for Head Start and early Head Start programming, serving over 500 children. Like Provost Cobb, many see the emergence of the Successful Communities Collaborative as an important element for SIUE, in this case, strengthening our relationships with our community. The creation of the SIU system's new Office of Community Engagement will allow us to do even more with community members by developing grants and working together on areas of need for these communities, such as determining self-governance models and entrepreneurial paths to reinventing communities. Our newest Vice Chancellor, Jessica Harris, shared the following about changes at SIUE pertaining to diversity. Dr. Harris reflected on the historical importance of Rudy Wilson, who many of you will remember as Assistant Provost for Cultural and Social Diversity beginning in 1996-97. This appointment laid the groundwork for our recent creation of the new Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Division and Vice Chancellor position, which will continue to transform our institution through training, development, and support. One of the most exciting changes that we're imagining as an extension of our diversity values is the recruiting and retention of a diverse faculty, staff, and student body, particularly relating to student success, which is a focus of the QI initiative, while the Strategic Hiring Initiative continues to provide support for faculty and staff hiring at SIUE. We all know how important enrollment is. It represents about 2/3 of our general operating budget. I appreciate input from Associate Vice Chancellor Scott Bellabradic on this topic. He pointed to the establishment of residence halls, Woodland in '94, Prairie in '98, and Bluff in 2001, as transformative moments for SIUE, with freshman classes growing from 1,100 to over 1,600 during that period. Relating to recent successes, Scott said that adding an online winter term starting in December of 2014 changed the way we serve students and represented a shift in the way that we think about education, leading to growth in online programs such as the MBA in Business and the RN to BSN in Nursing. As we think of the future, Scott imagines a day when the desire to learn should be more important than the ability to pay. Well said, Scott. To provide affordable education, we will be working with the system and an external consultant to align our scholarship policies with that vision. Vice Chancellor Morris Taylor is always pleased to reflect on how facilities have changed and will change SIUE over the years. At SIUE, we are fortunate to have an award-winning campus designed by renowned architect Gyo Obato. The central quad area of our campus literally grew out of cornfields in a matter of a few short years between 1965 and 1970, and consistently impresses our visitors and our faculty, staff, and students as well. Like Associate Vice Chancellor Bellabradic, Vice Chancellor Taylor also pointed to the creation of the residence halls, including Evergreen Hall in 2004, in transforming our campus. At the moment, Dr. Taylor and his staff are very involved in the next major building project, a 200,000 square foot building, which will be the largest on campus. The health science building will house nursing and pharmacy and serve other health science areas as well. This too will be transformational. Financial foundations are a key to the long-term stability of any university. Vice Chancellor Rachel Stack referred to a seminal moment for fundraising at SIUE through the construction of Berger Hall in 2000-2001. Berger gave fundraising and friend-raising at SIUE a place, an identity. This led to several foundational gifts over the next 2 decades. One of those was the gift from an anonymous donor to create the STEM Lab at the East St. Louis Charter High School. Such gifts give us great hope as we look to a capital campaign, which we anticipate will commence soon after the new chancellor arrives, based on current preparation efforts. Dean Jerry Weinberg is always excited to talk about research at SIUE, and so this request provided an opportunity to that end. The creation of the School of Graduate Studies and Research in 1970 laid the foundation for our current teacher-scholar model. Faculty members received support for ongoing research and creative efforts. This not only amplifies their teaching, but also provides research opportunities for students, as mentioned earlier by Provost Cobb. More recently, evidence of this outstanding scholarship has been underscored by the establishment of research centers, including STEM, INSERC, CPAN, and GeoMark, where ongoing research continues at amplified levels. As we look to the future of research at SIUE, Dean Weinberg anticipates a federally funded research center with wide collaboration across SIUE, SIUC, and the School of Medicine. Finally, pertaining to student life, like Scott and Morris, Vice Chancellor Jeffrey Waple emphasized the importance of residential life to our campus vitality and identity. As we think about continuing to move forward, he wanted to emphasize the importance of removing barriers to students' progress, as well as providing student support through programs on our campus, including Access, Cougar Cupboard, Cougar Closet, and as we look to the future, the MUC Master Plan is an important part of the Student Affairs Division strategic plan and an essential element in their strategic planning addressing things such as food services, textbook services, and student social life. As I received feedback from various campus leaders, it was interesting to see themes emerging, particularly around some major issues: the importance of a residential environment, successfully engaging our communities, and the importance of research and the concept of the teacher-scholar as an essential element in our educational efforts. I also am encouraged that we have so many exciting elements, including recent successes and visionary elements, that people couldn't list them all. SIUE received the HEAT Award for our 8th consecutive year, one of only 10 higher education institutions in the entire country that can make that claim. We look forward to the activities of the Institute for Rural Health, which will involve our health science programs and improve the health of communities throughout downstate Illinois, to the development of new certificates and badges for the hundreds of thousands of locals who have some college and no degree but seek a credential, to the creation of a social justice center in Belleville. Also, we have plans for a new health clinic, something we are tentatively calling the Center for Health and Athletic Performance, which could provide additional applied health and therapy opportunities for members of our community while serving our students and student athletes in cutting-edge clinical and training facilities. I hope that those slides gave you a sense of pride in this institution's history, reminded you about recent accomplishments, and instilled a sense of anticipation in what is to come. I challenge you to do something similar as an individual, or perhaps in your department, your school, your campus. Revisit this task yourself. What is an amazing point of historical pride for you or your unit? Something we accomplished recently that creates great satisfaction as you reflect. And finally, what is a bold dream you have for the future? Many of these ideas are outlined in our strategic plan, which I hope to share in November town halls. By the way, those and your additional ideas will make great conversation starters with the new Chancellor. Change will certainly continue through these grand visions, and we will have new decanal leaders in 2 areas in 2022. Relating to this, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dean Laura Bernay and Dean Bruce Rotter for outstanding leadership to their academic units. A new dean in nursing, a new dean in SDM. We will have a new chancellor as well. But I have one favor to ask of you relating to how you treat the new chancellor. Please do not inundate our new leader with SIUE acronyms, either during the interview sessions or in the first few months of that individual's time on campus. What acronyms, you ask? Here's the sampling. By the way, I think we have some t-shirts left over from various faculty, staff, and student appreciation events. So I challenge you, if you want to look further at this slide, which will be part of the presentation posted on the SIUE website, any individual who can successfully identify every one of these abbreviations without looking up the answers, and who promises not to use them repeatedly with the new chancellor, will receive a t-shirt along with a certificate stating, "I know my SIUE acronyms, but won't use them all the time." This offer is limited to the first 10 individuals that qualify. So the theme today has been about change, but not everything at SIUE changes or will change. We are establishing some wonderful traditions that will continue in spite of change. Traditions such as move-in day, freshman walk, freshman photo, and community engagement Saturday. 2 additional things which won't change. The success of our students, such as School of Engineering alum Chico Weber, who invented a grow light to more efficiently produce plants. And outstanding faculty researchers such as Drs. Kreider and Newman, whose research involves small novel compounds related to anti-COVID activity. We will continue to have success in athletics, as suggested by this slide showing the 2021 OVC Women's Soccer Tournament champions. But perhaps the thing that is most special about SIUE that won't change are wonderful, welcoming people. Let me close with some invitations and a final thank you. The next COU, or Conversation of Understanding, yes, I did just give you one of the answers for my recent acronym challenge, will occur October 20 from 12 to 1:30, led by SIU System Vice President Sheila Caldwell, followed by Diversity Day, October 21st, led by Vice Chancellor Jessica Harris. I hope you will participate. Finally, Chancellor candidates' open sessions will be held this month. Please see the Chancellor Search website for more specific information. And by the way, it's probably not too soon to get commencement dates on your calendar, December 17 and 18. So, this is my 6th and final state of SIUE address. As I reflect on my career, I think about mentors I have had and the importance of those mentors. I hope you have been fortunate to have great people helping you along the journey. For me, as a tenure-track assistant professor in my first job, the role of being my mentor fell to an amazing gentleman named Leroy Poggemiller. He was a conservatory alum, a University of Missouri Kansas City faculty member, and administrator for over 40 years. In 1992-93, near the end of his career, he was asked to serve as interim dean of the conservatory. And at our last convocation that year, he said the following thing, which has remained with me since. In referring to the conservatory and his time as dean, he said to our faculty and staff, "Thank you for giving me the chance to sit on top of the mountain and see all the amazing things that are going on in our environment." That is why I spent some time today in this address looking back in various areas, reflecting on recent changes, and imagining what SIUE will be in a few years. As Dr. Poggemiller did for his faculty and staff, I say to you, thank you for this amazing experience. I will cherish it in the years to come. I also want to thank some specific units at SIUE. The music department, within what is now the College of Arts and Sciences, nurtured my love for music. Thank you for providing specific skills and the elements of liberal arts education needed by all for successful careers. The education classes provided by what is now the School of Education, Health, and Human Behavior reinforced my desire to teach, perhaps the noblest profession one can choose. Thank you. And the library in the 1970s, as now, was a place for students to do research, to pause, and to reflect. That is what higher education is about. I also had the pleasure of spending many hours in the Lovejoy basement in Abbott Theater for recitals, both mine and friends. So Lovejoy became a home away from home. Thank you for continuing to offer that environment to today's students. But back to this moment, there are a few months left for me on that SIUE mountain, and I hope to talk to all of you again in various ways, at Starbucks, at town halls, at special events, at sporting events, before I leave this amazing institution. Thank you for all you do for SIUE and our students and our community. Best wishes for the 2021-22 academic year. Grace to all. I leave you with one final quote. Thank you. I hope to say hi to you before you leave today. Thanks.